Please join me in welcoming Karine Jean-Pierre.
Wow. Thank you so much for having me here today. And thank you, President DesRoches, for that kind introduction. Never thought that I would hear best dressed, but I'll take it. A little birdie told me that Beyonce was also considered as commencement speaker, so I'm feeling extra grateful to be here today. That's some tough competition right there. But I'll try my best to live up to the Renaissance tour and not disappoint the Beehive. But first thing, congratulations, class of 2023, on your graduation today. You all have worked so hard to get here, and I hope you can truly celebrate your achievements with your friends, family, and loved ones. Although every graduation is an achievement, your path has been steeper and more difficult than most. Your class was just wrapping up your freshman year when COVID emerged and changed our world in an instant. Some of you became ill and had to suspend your studies. Others had to tend to sick family members or step in and take care of your younger siblings when childcare was no longer an option. Some had to deal with an incredible pain of losing friends and family to the deadly pandemic. Classes went virtual to the word Zoom. That became part of our shared lexicon. And social activity, a cornerstone of the collegiate experience, was brought to a grinding halt. We all had to adapt to dramatically new circumstances. No matter what end of the political spectrum you identify with, as students, you were witness to one of the most serious threats to our democracy. You've seen the worst of us, but you've also seen the best of us. You lived through a moment in history where every day was unprecedented, and you now step into a world rife with new challenges and rich in new opportunities. I want you to know that today is not only an achievement, but also is a testament to your strength, your grit, and your perseverance. You were determined to make it to the finish line, and guess what, class of 2023? You did. Now, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. told us we must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. And through everything we have been through, your class, your generation, gives me hope, infinite hope. Hope is one of the most powerful tools we have. Hope is more than an emotion, more than a feeling, and certainly more than a vibe. I know you guys like to use that word, vibe. Hope is a discipline and a practice. For me, hope is a verb. Hope is action. Because when we hope for a better world, we create a better world. Hope shows us change is possible, the simple belief that we can make a difference, no matter how big, unlocks our power to effectuate change. I know the power of hope because I wouldn't be here today, standing in front of you today, if my parents hadn't hoped for a better future for their family. So hope is action. My parents grew up in Haiti, the first country in the Western Hemisphere where enslaved people overthrew their colonizers to create the first ever independent country of free people. The Haitian Revolution inspired other enslaved people, particularly in Latin America, to fight for their freedom. Hope is action. Haiti's history, just like my family's history, is a story of resilience, determination, and hope. My maternal grandfather took care of my mom and her twin sister until they were 5, but at the time, a devastating famine struck the area of Haiti where they were living. My grandfather separated my mom and her sister, making the painful decision to send them both to different families who adopted them. My mother's family treated her like a servant to their biological children rather than a child of their own. She lost contact with her twin sister, only to find out later she had passed away. Eventually, in her teenage years, my mom met my father. They got married. My dad was a teacher in Port-au-Prince. As their relationship was starting to grow, Haiti turned into a brutal dictatorship led by Francois Duvalier, known as Papa Doc, and later his son, Jean-Claude. It was an awful period for the revolutionary country. Under the dictatorship, my parents' freedoms were limited, but their hope couldn't be. They had no say over the direction of their country, but fought for a say over their future of their family. They knew they wanted their children to have a better life, so they plotted to go to Martinique, where they hoped they'd eventually be able to go to the United States. It was there where I was born. After moving to Martinique, my family got the chance to move to France and then finally to the United States. The story of Haiti's creation runs in my family's veins. Haiti is a country of people who fought for a better life and continue to fight for a better life after 2 centuries. My parents, true to their roots, resisted the limits of being placed on their freedoms, their families, and their futures. But even after America welcomed us to a country that we aspired to be, our struggles didn't suddenly disappear. My father got a job as a New York City taxi driver and woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning every day to make it to the John F. Kennedy International Airport to be in line, the taxi cab line, when the first international flights of the day started landing. My mom worked multiple jobs to help keep us afloat. She worked as a home healthcare aide 6 days a week and managed a hair salon on the weekends. And of course, they were both raising me and my 2 younger siblings, trying to give us the best education they could. They scraped by, never able to take a break, just so that I could eventually catch mine. But one day, we were able to catch a break. We had applied for citizenship, and finally our time had come. My dad and I passed the test to become naturalized citizens more than a decade after arriving in the US, and more than 2 decades after my father left Haiti. Years after escaping a violent, punitive dictatorship, my dad regained his voice in his new country. His new country's future, his new country's elections. And there was no way he'd be silent. He was not going to remain silent. At the first possible chance after gaining our citizenship, my dad and I went to the polls It was a small local election. I can't even remember what it was all about, but I'll never forget the moment itself. For the first time in decades, my dad had the chance to vote in an election to make his voice heard. Now, there are other ways to make a difference in your community, of course, but voting is special. He was finally a citizen who could one day vote for the very president that I now serve. The president who appointed me the first openly gay, immigrant, Black, and person of color press secretary, exactly 1 year ago yesterday. I want to just sit there for a second. I am the face of the most powerful political person in the world. Just think about that. So my parents' story is proof. It is proof that change is possible. But that story also attests to the fact that change doesn't come to those who merely want it. It comes to those who work for it. Because hope is action. My mom hoped for a better life for herself, so she escaped her childhood to go to a city with more opportunity. Hope is action. When my parents wished for a better life for us, they moved countries and cultures, not once, but twice, to give my siblings and I a shot at a better future. Hope is action. Believing that education would unlock new horizons, my parents worked hard jobs and even harder hours to make sure my siblings and I got the education we needed. Hope is action. The education is what enabled me to eventually serve in the White House, not once, but twice, and is why I am standing here today in front of all of you, because hope is action. Now, this hallowed institution is a testament that change driven by hope is always within our grasp. William Marsh Rice used his fortune to found what is now known as Rice University, but his fortune was built on the backs of the enslaved people he owned. And he insisted that this school would only serve the white men and women of Houston. But today, Rice University is open to all and welcomed its first Black president, DesRoches. It's located in Houston, as you all know, the most diverse city in the country. And the Rice class of 2026 has no single ethnic or racial majority. The story of Rice University and my story stand with the principle that is, world is malleable, and we are the ones with the power to transform it. But only if we are willing to take the chance. Hoping for more is not naive. Don't let anybody tell you that. It is brave. We choose to hope. We aren't ignorant of all the obstacles in our way. We are simply choosing to say, I know the road ahead will be long, so I better start the walking. Because hope is action. Hope is not blind optimism. It's not ignoring the enormity of the task ahead or the roadblocks that stand in our path. It's not sitting on the sidelines or shirking from a fight. Hope is that thing inside of us that insists, despite all evidence to the contrary, that something better awaits us if we have the courage to reach for it and to work for it and to fight for it. Hope is the belief that destiny will not be written for us, but by us, by the men and women who are not content to settle for the world as it is, who have the courage to remake the world it should be. Now, those words that I just read to you all came from the man who gave me the opportunity to jump from working in local politics to national politics, President Barack Obama. And I believe that they are just as true today as they were when he said it 15 years ago. They inspired me to take a leap in my career and take a risk. Those words are why, while I may be the first, I want to ensure I will not be the last. That's right. They changed my life and they inspire me now. Hope is action. To the class of 2023, you have already made me so hopeful. For the things you have already accomplished and all that you have yet to achieve, you've not only survived reckonings with global pandemic, the fight to preserve our democratic institutions, and the battle to name and shame bigotry and racism in all of its forms. You forced the world to re-examine how it looks at itself. You've created an atmosphere where hope can not only grow, but thrive. You ask the tough questions and demand better for others. You are our future and have created an ecosystem where hope doesn't just live, it thrives. Today, you're graduating from one of the most prestigious institutions in the world for higher learning. What an achievement. Your road has been long, but here is something that I do believe that I can share, something that I'm partially qualified to give advice on. Do not allow hardships, personal or existential, to become a barrier to your ability to look ahead with hope. Rather, embrace the challenge and take the building blocks of lessons you've learned during your most trying times. Times you wanted to quit or run away or thought the path ahead was just too dark to even attempt to find the light. Take these experiences with you, embrace them, and use your experience to face the challenges ahead. Because you are more than capable. You are enough. Your past is the proof of that. Getting to this point, graduation day, is a validation that even if you've fretted about your future or struggled with your past, you've still chosen to move forward, to hope. And that hope is action. My path hasn't always been easy. It has had finite disappointment, but it has been defined by infinite hope. It's been forged through the sheer power of will of not just myself, but the foundation of my parents, and their parents and the revolutionaries of Haiti. I stand before you today because my parents hoped, the country of their birth hoped, the country they adopted hoped, and I hoped. I'm going to end where I started, with Beyonce, of course. She said, "Don't try to lessen yourself for the world. Let the world catch up to you." Class of 2023, don't ever lessen yourself. Stay hopeful, and remember, hope is action. But for today, celebrate. You have more than earned it. And don't forget to thank the people who hoped for you and helped you along this journey, whether they're your parents or your grandparents or your aunties or your uncles or your sisters or your brothers, your professors, your coaches, your teachers growing up, or your friends. Always thank them because they've earned this too. Congratulations. I cannot wait to see what you all continue to accomplish. Thank you.
Please join me in thanking our speaker one more time. Thank you, Karine.